All right, good morning, MUS 031B class at UCR. This will be our remote lecture that's taking the place of Monday's class. So let's jump right into it. Okay, let's warm up on a couple of scales because we're going to do a little singing here at the beginning. Let's start with the major mode. 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. And let's do a melodic minor. 2, 3, 4. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, te, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do. If you feel you need to do a little bit more warm up, that's fine. You can just pull the slider back. Of course, you can always practice by yourself. But let's open up our Berkowitz books, and we're just gonna what we're gonna do on the remote lecture today. We're gonna do a couple of things out of the Berkowitz, a couple of things out of the Kazez, and then we're gonna talk about the midterm exam. Which is coming up Wednesday. So the last part of this video is going to be a little bit of a mock exam. Okay, I'm going to give you the different parts of the exam, the different components that we typically have, a couple of practice examples, and I'll give you the answers, and you kind of see more or less where you are, and you can feel pretty confident about what you will experience on Wednesday for the midterm. All right, but let's begin right now in the Berkowitz with page 33. Go to page 33, please, and find at the bottom of the page number 149. All right, as you can see there in the paragraph immediately above 149, we are talking about the outline of the 2 chord, or the supertonic. Okay, the 2 chord, like the 4 chord that we've already outlined before, is a predominant chord. Okay, so a chord that precedes some sort of a dominant function, whether it be 5 or 7, which we have not learned to outline yet in solfege. So it has re, fa, la, re, fa, la. You can tell by its lowercase nature that it is a minor triad in major mode, and in minor mode, here, with that being lowered, is a diminished triad. Re, fa, le, re, fa, le. Okay, so we're gonna deal with both of these. As always, when in the Berkowitz, when we outline a new chord, it's going to give you a bunch of paired examples, one major, one minor, but with the same melodic contour. We'll do one pair. Beginning with number 149. Okay, notice that this is a 3/4 time example, and it begins on mi, third of the tonic triad. All right, let's give this one a try. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1, 2, 3. Mi, fa, sol, sol, la, fa, re, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, re, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol, la, fa, re, la, sol, fa, re, mi. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay. With that one in mind, turn the page over to page 34, and you will see its minor equivalent. Okay, take a quick scan through number 150 to determine, we see that this is in C minor, and also to determine what kind of C minor it is. If you look at the contour of the melody, it becomes very obvious. There, about 2/3 of the way through the first line, you see a ascending line with 6th and 7th scale degrees raised, La and Ti, and immediately descending Te and Le as they descend, and similarly throughout the rest of the example. All right, let's begin this one in minor. Me is the first syllable. 1 and 2 and 3. Me, fa, sol, sol, le, fa, re, sol, fa, me, fa, sol, le, fa, re, sol, la, ti, do, te, le, sol, fa, me, re. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol, le, fa, re, le, sol, fa, re, mi. Do, te, le, sol, fa, me, re, do, re, fa, le, sol, fa, me, re, do. All right, sorry about that little mistake I made in there with the solfege. Hesitated a bit. But you can see how that works. That, especially in the minor mode. Remember when we talked about the secrets of the scales before, that this 6th scale degree, which is lowered, which is naturally lowered in the minor, has a bit of a tendency to move downward, especially when encountered at the top of a line like this. Re, fa, le, because one, you have a diminished chord which wants to move inward. Okay. These parts of the diminished because you have both of the half steps existing here. Re to me and le to sol. So you have a little bit of a tendency for those to move downward, especially when you have a line like this. Re, fa, le has a tendency to want to go back to down to do. Just as in major mode, fa has somewhat of a tendency to go back down to mi, though here a little bit stronger because of the tension inherent in the diminished chord. All right, and we'll talk more about that next week. But now let's go over to the Kazez book, please. All right, and in the Kazez book, we're going to get into a new chapter. We're back into compound meter. Please open your Kazez book to page 57. To page 57. All right, Kazez, page 57. We'll do the 2 examples on this page, numbers 98 and 99. Okay, we're back, as I said, into the compound meter with the dotted quarter note beat being prevalent here. And we're just getting used to a few more rhythmic figures, nothing drastic. Okay. Let's start with number 98, the preparatory drill. And I like the speech cue here of lazy, T, 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 because it is more of a lazy feel. This is what, it's this feel that people often mistakenly perform when they are trying to do a dotted 8/16 figure. Okay, this long, short, and a 2-to-1 proportion. All right, let's give this one a try. 98, 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2. T, 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 T. T, 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 T. T, 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 T. All right, and number 99. Okay, this includes most of the figures that we dealt with back in Chapter 2 at the end of last quarter. Let's go a little slower. Make sure that we catch the dynamics and the rests. 1 and a 2 and a 1e and a 2e and a T, 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 T. T, 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 T. Ticky, 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 T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, ticky, T. T, 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 ticky, T. T, 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 ticky, ticky, T, T, ticky, T, T, ticky, 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 T, T, ticky, T, ticky, ticky, T, ticky, ticky, T, 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 ticky, T, 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 ticky, T. T, T, ticky, 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 T, off. And try to ignore the mistake that I made at the beginning of the third line with an extra 16th figure there. Everyone makes mistakes, including me a lot, actually. That's why actually I'm constantly practicing this material so that I become a better musician through musicianship myself. Okay, now, we're going to be done with that stuff. Let's do a little mock exam. Okay, so we'll do a few examples of each of the pieces of the exam that you will experience on Wednesday. So we'll do a little interval identification, a little chord identification, a little scale identification, some melodic dictation, and one harmonic dictation as well. So we'll do a few examples of each of these. Let's start with the first section. We'll call it section A. And go ahead and mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 5 intervals. 5 intervals. These will be either ascending or descending. And do your best to identify them. I'll play them 2 times each. All right. First one. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. All right, if you've got those down, you can go back and check them again if you want to double check your answers. Of course, we won't be able to do that in the exam next Wednesday, but let's put the answers up. Okay, so number 1 was a perfect 5th, ascending. Number 2 was a minor 7th, descending. Number 3 was a major 6th, ascending. Number 4 was a major 2nd, descending. And number 5 was a tritone, or an augmented 4th or diminished 5th. Either one of those answers is correct, ascending. Okay, so if you feel pretty comfortable with that, you'll be in pretty good shape on Wednesday. Let's do a section B. Let's do 3. These will be chords. Okay, so give me the qualities of these chords. These should be coming pretty easy to you, given that we are doing the pre-harmonic dictation 1 and 2. All right, here's number 1. Okay, number 2. Oh, excuse me. And number 3. Alright, and that gets us to major, diminished, and minor. Okay, let's do a section C, where we will have scales, and we'll do just 2 examples here. Okay, I'll play them ascending and descending twice in octaves. All right, number 1. And number 2. Again. All right, and the answers. Number 1 was harmonic minor, and number 2 was natural minor. Okay, let's get into a section D. Let's do a melodic dictation. Okay, this melodic dictation, I will give you all of these statistics on Wednesday as well. This one is going to be bass clef, key of E flat major, 3/4 time, and it's going to have a pickup, an anacrusis. This one, it will be an anacrusis on a beat 3 pickup, so a quarter note value, a beat 3 pickup on sol in the staff. That quarter note there on that beat 3 pickup. Now, be very careful. Remember the law of conservation of beats. You have taken 1 quarter note away, you need to take it away from somewhere. The last measure. So make sure on the exam you will miss a point if you complete, if you give a complete measure there. Whatever that last measure is needs to be incomplete by this much. Okay, let's give it a try. I'll play it 2 times through. There's our key of E flat major. 2 subdivided measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and. And I did neglect to tell you that there are 8 complete measures here. So if I happen to do that on Wednesday, I'm sure you're going to let me know, but I did neglect to tell you there are 8 measures after the anacrusis. They add up to 8 complete measures, but 8 measures after the anacrusis. Let's hear it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So let's get that in there. I'll try and scrunch this to keep it inside the camera angle here. Okay, you see we had a sequence, an ascending sequence with the same dotted quarter, eighth quarter, and then somewhat of a sequence, but not with the same rhythm, but continuing up with those sequences on that three-note ascending passage. And then we have the outline of a triad, sol, mi, do, and then that same figure from before, entire measure, and then notice half note only because I stole it from over here. Okay? Sol, do, re, mi, fa, sol, sol, mi, do, ti, do, re, do, do. Okay, so that is section D, your melodic dictation. So very likely your exam will include something of about this difficulty. There will be at least 2 melodic dictations. And let's do our final section, section E, harmonic dictation. This is going to be an example of our pre-harmonic dictation 2. Okay, pre-harmonic dictation 1, as you recall, was just identifying a string of chord qualities in a row, and pre-harmonic dictation 2 involves doing that while putting in a bass line. But because this is slightly more difficult, I'm kind of stretching a little bit here, I'm giving you 25% of the answer for free. 4 spaces, do in the bass, beginning with a major triad. Okay, so you need to dictate the bass for the rest of it, as well as the qualities of the chords associated with those notes. We'll give it a try. All right, here we go. Ready, go. Okay, let's hear it again. Ready, and... And again, like we've talked about in class, it doesn't matter to me whether you dictate the bass first or get the qualities of the chords first, or both, just as long as you are able to do it in a reasonable amount of time. 3 listenings like what we just did, that's generally fine. Okay? Many students will prefer one method over the other. Okay? In this case, bass was do, ti, la, do, and the quality of the chords were major, another major, minor, and augmented. All right, so these are somewhat a sample of what you might encounter on Wednesday's midterm exam. So we'll, if you find that this was a little bit difficult for you, go ahead and especially if it was the basic skills, go ahead and work those up, your scales, your chords, your interval identification. If that was a little bit of a difficulty, make sure that you work those up. Melodic dictation, this is very similar to the work that you do every week in your systematic dictation, so you can go back and review that if you need to. And the pre-harmonic dictation too is a combination of melodic dictation and chord identification. So both of those two things are coming together. Okay? So I will see you all on Wednesday. Good luck as you study for your midterms and the rest of the stuff that you have going on that week.